So we make games. The kind of games we make is educational games for preschool and kindergarten kids. We've been doing this for about 2 years. We have 14 games. Users are across the world. Most of our users are in tier 1 countries, US, UK, Canada, Australia.
Hi guys, my name is Rohit. I am founder and CEO of PaxPlay. We make ultra casual games, bit size game 1 MB, 2 MB, and you can very much closely relate to Flappy Bird if you think about our games.
Hi, my name is Roby. I run a studio called June Software. We have 2 brands, June our brand, and Tap to Learn. So on Tap to Learn we make educational games. We've been doing this since 2010. We're also one of the companies that got funded by Y Combinator. So at YC, grew the company from there. Our most recent game was a game called Ninjump Dash. It's a real-time multiplayer game, did really well. About 6 million downloads in the last 4 months. It's a game that you can play with your friends. All the games that we make now involves making real-time games that you can play with your friends.
So I'm Rajesh Rao. I chair the Nasscom Gaming Forum, and I also founder and CEO of Thiva Interactive, which is one of India's oldest games companies. And I'm moderating this panel, and I just want to go around as a first round of questioning to all these guys. Is share quickly a bit of your journey, maybe a couple of minutes. How did you start and where you are now?
So we actually started the company in May of 2010 when we saw the iPad. We looked at the iPad and we thought that, hey, this can change learning as we know it, because finally we can get people to lean in and enjoy education. So we made our first game in June of 2010. We got featured a week later when we launched. We went to the top 25 grossing right there as a 2% company that started off in a town called Pune, close to Bombay. We took the company from a 2% company. We went back to the Silicon Valley, studied and worked there. Went to the Silicon Valley, applied to Y Combinator and Imagine Gatewell. Got inside of YC, and a year after starting doing educational games, I was actually pitching Tap to Learn to Laureen Powell Jobs, the wife of Steve Jobs. For me, that was an aha moment of saying, hey, here's something that I started in a small room in Pune, wanting to do education because my wife was 7 months pregnant at that time. To actually building Tap to Learn as a brand, which was about 35 million downloads worldwide.
So do you have a team which is both India and?
So we have an office in Silicon Valley. We've got a small team there. We focus exclusively on the US from an education system. So working on the core standards, working with teachers in the US. That's the kind of team that we employ there. All of our development is done from our studio.
How big is the studio?
Our studio in India is 26 people.
I know you're fairly embedded in the Pune tech scene, right? Tell us more about that, because I think it's one of the key differentiators from my conversation with you earlier. Because one of the things that most indies and developers in India find difficult is to get good quality talent who are interested in games. So tell us a bit of your secret sauce.
So 2 things, I brought up in Pune. I went to COEP, which is like a government engineering college in Pune. I was a gold medalist in engineering. I taught at the University of Pune for 10 years from 2000 to 2010. So I knew a lot of engineers, and I taught programming. So I knew a lot of engineers right at the university level. So when I started the company, my 2 co-founders are also students that I taught. So all of our talent that came in the initial days were people that I already knew and had worked with. That really helped to set up a base for the company. And today, being in Pune and lived in Pune for 35 years, know fairly good amount of people there.
Great. So Rohit, what's your story?
So I graduated from IT Women in 2012. Till the time I started PaxPlay, I would have never imagined that I would be starting a gaming company. I never played so many games or was never around it. But I started 2 companies before PaxPlay. I started PaxPlay in 2013, and we developed just 1 game in 1 year, and we never earned any money out of it. We were going into the traditional path, chasing investors and all. We almost got rejected by investors, But after 2013 and 2014, we started changing our business model and we moved to ultra casual category. So our business model is mostly focused on advertising based model now, and we are having much enough revenue on our own. Now all the VCs are after us and we are saying that we don't need the money. So things have definitely changed.
That's a good position to be in. So how big is your group now?
So currently we are only 3-4 people, and we don't need much people in terms of headcount. Ours is like, our development cycle is like 2 weeks. After that, it's all data gameplay. Once the game is into the market, everything is dependent on data and analytics.
So how many products did you put out last year?
So we released 4 products till now, and we have more than 3 million downloads. But our specialty is into revenue per user and retention. So we have 30-40% retention.
That's awesome. 30-40% retention is great. So I think we'll come back to that. So let's hear from
So our story is kind of similar to Robbie's, but not exactly. So for us, educational gaming kind of happened on the side. We were a work-for-hire company. We used to build apps and games for other people. And that's when, like Robbie said, the iPad came out and the space kind of looked interesting. So we kind of toyed around with it on the side and kind of let it run on its own on the side. But we saw some really good traction. There was a lot of demand for educational games from the customer base. So we moved away from work for hire and started doing this on a full-time basis about a couple of years ago. It's been a great journey. It's what we like doing. My co-founder is my wife. So we both come up with these game concepts. We have a small team of 2 designers, 2 programmers. So I was sitting here for the previous panel, and one of the things that came to my mind was, at least specific to our company, is that we share our vision a lot with our team, and in the end, each of our team members buys into the end goal for each game, and then we just let them roll, right? And that really helps us churn out really quality games.
So how many games have you put out in the market?
We have 14 games.
14 games.
Yeah.
And how many last year?
So a chunk of that has been this year because we pushed it a lot this year. So we've done 8 games this year.
8 games this year.
Yeah.
And business model?
Our business model is a combination of ad revenue and in-app purchases.
And focusing on which market?
Tier 1, so US, UK, Canada, Australia. India is something that we are looking at now, and we are very heavily going to be pushing our content in India.
And I'm assuming you're profitable.
Oh yeah, very well. So yeah, that's one of the good things about this space. We're very well profitable. You know, when it comes to parents, they don't think twice before spending for their children.
Yeah, that is true. As a parent, I can tell that most apps on the App Store, which are of any quality,
Yeah.
some of the biggest ticket prices that you see on the App Store are for educational content.
And you know, quality is important, right? The graphics we do, the art, it's really soothing, really appealing, and I think that's what gets parents to our heart.
So have you had discoverability as an issue that is an issue for the games industry?
My personal experience has been that for our space, the ecosystem itself helps discoverability. So I think, I'll give you Apple's example. Apple really promotes good content, good games by featuring you, by recommending you. So I think what happens is that if you download a game, Apple will then recommend other games to you, and that gets you a lot of organic downloads. And there is a community of reviewers, bloggers who talk about it. So at least in our community, that has helped us.
So the reviews, ratings, all that has played.
Yeah. I'll just give you an anecdote. One of our games, it's about learning what animals eat. So, you know, we show a dog and then we give the child an option of three food items, and the child has to pick which food the dog eats. And it's a whole game based on several other animals. One of the parents actually took printouts of this and made a physical game out of it by cutting holes in the animal's mouth and giving it to the child, and the child was actually feeding the food to the animal. So, good quality content always gets appreciation.
So how long did it take before you see that whole virality and the whole rating and everything kind of kicking in? I mean, I'm guessing that the products that you put out now are inherently having a lot more momentum and velocity.
Yes, so some of our oldest games are still some of our best performers. In our case, virality comes from the fact that if we have one good game, we have 14 games, right? So a parent, if they download one of our games, they are bound to download 3 or 4 of our other games.
So what kind of downloads overall have your products done?
We're close to 2 million downloads.
Cool. So I'm going to have another round of questions on inflection points. Some milestones, good or bad, in your stories, which may have given you that, those learnings that may have helped you become successful.
So inflection points in our case was, just looking at children, play and solve more math problems on our games than on any other platform. And then we realized that, the reason why, and we are called tap to learn, which means you'll tap to actually learn something, you'll actually interact with that medium. There's a lesser chance of you getting distracted and being on task, which is really one of the key problems in education, is that kids, they have low attention spans and they don't practice their problems enough. If we did something which was not like bubble wrap, pop-up, but something that can be visual, that can create that permanent learning, we felt that that was of value. And the moment we created something of value, we actually saw that parents were most willing to pay for it. And that's how we kept growing. We changed our model completely. We don't have any marketing. We've gone to about 35 million downloads with $25,000 in marketing. Our marketing strategy was, hey, make a high quality game, give it away for free, see what the audience thinks. Over a period of time, make the same game, a paid game at $5. That's what we've done. That's it. Realizing this model was probably the biggest success.
Cool. So today in your is your portfolio of your adapter, all of them are paid games?
So we only have, on our portfolio, we only have premium games or free games. There's no advertising on any of those. There might be a little bit of cross promotion, but no advertising. Because parents ultimately want their child to actually play a high quality product. That's what they want. That's what they're willing to pay for, and we guarantee that experience.
So apart from Capital, we also, as June, are into more traditional game development.
Correct.
So tell us a bit about that.
So that was a funny story, because we were actually building games for kids that we would give out as rewards for the kids. We wanted to be sure that, hey, that's a nice game that you actually play as rewards. And those games had the best retention. So while building a good game, we suddenly found that the gameplay of that game had insane amount of retention. It had 40% retention on D30. And we actually pitched that game to one of our investors, and they liked it, and that's how we got the license to do Ninjump on it. So we took the Ninjump IP, applied it on it, and published that game.
So today, do you have these two companies? Do they have shared resources, or are they separate companies?
They are shared resources. They just work in the same office.
I think our first inflection point was when we had the first dollar after 6 months of releasing our first IP. Then the second inflection point was, didn't reach to $100 in next 6 months. So after that we changed the business model. Then the next inflection point was earning $1,000 in a single day. So I mean, those were the inflection points for us. And then came the fan following of our games. So people actually made birthday cakes on their birthday of our like the first screen of our game. So we have a game called Sperm Race, and many people were Instagramming a cake photo, which was basically surfaced as the screen of Sperm Race.
That's pretty cool. You said most of your revenues are coming from ads. So it's interesting that we have different business models that are working for each of you guys, isn't it? How about freemium?
So basically, our first game was actually freemium. We put up a lot of powers and things like stuff like that to earn by spending some money. But what we found was that in-app purchase kind of model doesn't work for. Basically, it either works for very high quality of games like Clash of Clans or maybe Zynga, some top Zynga games, but it doesn't work just even after you come a level down after that. And you can't build Clash of Clans sitting in India not having $10 million or $20 million. So we found that problem in that model, so we follow that. Currently it is very crucial for us to come out with another type of model. So that day we made a rule that not following any rule, and we will just make, we will make our own rules from now on.
That's pretty cool. So, inflection points.
For us, the inflection point, I guess, in our journey was when we went from doing this as a side project to, our core business. And that inflection point happened because we saw, so we put out a game called Alex the Handyman. And it's a game that teaches children about various handyman jobs around the house. And that was massively received by the community, by Apple. They featured us. We got tremendous number of downloads. That really was the inflection point for us to really go after this segment.
So, how many developers in this room? Okay. So, if you had to kind of give a couple of tips to developers today, you're all successful. Yeah.
Let's say, don't ever give up, and dream big. Because whatever you dream, you make that possible.
As I told, I'm not a gamer, so I would say think about the business, and that's what matters.
Okay.
I think you need to be very clear from the get-go about what your end goal is. Are you looking to build the next blockbuster, or are you looking to build this into a business? I think that has to be very clear from the first day, because the strategies for both will be very different.
Okay. All right. So, do we have time for questions?
I think we can fit in like 2 very quick questions. That's okay.
Questions.
Do we have a mic for Mike?
Hello, I'm Mike. I'm an indie developer from the UK. So my question is, I think at least 2 of you specifically said your primary audience is US, UK, Australia, Canada. And what's really interesting hearing you speak is, in those countries, the native developers there who are making games for that market, we're all focusing on premium content. We're making $10 games, $20 games for that audience because there seems to be an audience for that. And a lot of people in my bracket aren't doing freemium because that seems much more difficult. And I'm really interested that every indie I've met in India who's targeting those markets is going for what I would consider a more difficult play. I'm interested why you're attracted to that, why you're not making Xbox games, PC games. Is it because you don't see the same room for growth? Is it a hardware issue? Is it culturally just seems off to you? I'm just really interested.
Mike, I'm a big fan of the game.
Oh, thank you.
The reason why I did that actually was because when my daughter was born, all that I saw was that she took to the touchscreen naturally, and we felt that giving ourselves that edge. Everybody on the touch gameplay was as old as us. They had the same experience. They've never seen why would I compete with somebody who's been building console games for years? When I know that hey, tablets are coming, touch is coming, and I've had the same experience as everybody else. Gives me a level playing field. Distribution also gave us that level playing field. That's why we went after that.
That's an awesome answer. Thank you.
Any other question? Yeah, one question.
So one the challenge we have had is how to make engaging games that do not come in the way of learning.
I'm not sure. So you're saying that engagement hinders learning?
No. So we have got this game where fishes we are trying to feed a fish with the answers, and then a shark comes in if it's not answered correctly and all that. So, for example, when the question moves, it hinders a little bit of readability. So we can't have the fish moving too fast and all that, right? Because the fish is carrying the question. So
yeah, I think that's a factor of design, right? I mean, you need to fix that design. It has to be usable. Learn. Yeah.
So the way that I think about it is you shouldn't essentially make gamification of the game. If you can embed learning into the game itself, then that's valuable. The way that we've thought about it is we always give the child, so to say, a objective of how can he use his knowledge to solve real problems. You empower the child so that education doesn't get in the way. You always accept that, hey, you know all of this, now save the world using that knowledge. and that's really something that we build, and we feel that that's what works.
Thank you. Good. Okay, so we're done here. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. So sorry to interrupt you guys. It's been great to hear from you. What we'll do is we'll ask the next group to come up. We're going to be talking about branding.
The intent over the next 20 minutes is to try and give you a sneak peek on what happens with branded IP and the fact that Bollywood and cricket is a big value creator in India, and we've got some very interesting insights in the Hollywood space as well. I've got a esteemed panel out here, and I'd like them to introduce themselves. I've got Rohith Bhat, the CEO at Robosoft, Amit Shah, EVP and a business head at Reliance Games, and I've got Chirag Desai, head of content and development for Viacom. So the intent today is to actually just ask them a set of questions and get them to start talking about their businesses and how they've gone about building branded IP. The fact here is that Bollywood and movies is a very, very big play both in India as well as abroad. And each of these individuals have done various IP development, various distribution around this space. So wanted Rohit to probably start and share with us what the larger play on branded entertainment has been, branded gaming has been, and how have you seen this opportunity grow for Robosoft?
Yeah. For those who don't know what Robosoft is about, we basically help our customers plan, design, and build awesome apps and mobile games. That's a lot of work for hires work that we do, and we also have a sub brand called 99 Games where we build our own IPs. One of the things the recent experiments that we did, we call it an experiment because that was the first time we were licensing a brand and creating a game around it. We licensed the Doom, the Doom IP and built the game, Doom 3 the game, which was coinciding with the launch of the movie, and it got tremendous response. We did more than 16 million downloads of this game within 6 months of the movie launch. We started the entire activity 2 months before the movie launch, which was unheard of before that. But generally, movie-based games used to launch a week before the actual movie release, and it sustained its momentum for 4 or 5 months after the movie release. We looked at the IP more from a discoverability perspective, because we knew that we could never do this discoverability, solve this discoverability piece in the Indian context, and we just wanted to ride on top of a more established brand, and that is how we started from our perspective. So this whole 16 million download was without any marketing budget, spending any marketing budget on our own, but spending some time on social media and getting the star cast, getting the studios to do the tweets and do their own social media amplification.
So in terms of the gameplay, the amount of time spent by consumers, the number of times the consumers were coming back, did you see a heightened usage during the life cycle of the film being released? And how did you see that compared to regular gaming that you've released, and what's been the differential in both those values?
Yeah, on the day of the movie launch, we saw 400k downloads on that single day. December 20th, on one day we saw 400,000, downloads of this game. It was like, massive, and it was a good thing because Apple featured us around the same time, Google featured us around the same time, Microsoft, we were working with them for, some time on that IP. And, that was the, pinnacle, of that, game for us. Even after 1.5 years, on its own, the game gets around 3,000 to 4,000 downloads on its own without any activity. Yeah. But the engagement was, high during the movie launch. But it fell off, It held on its own, probably it was getting around 30 to 40,000 downloads even 2 to 3 months after the movie release.
Amit, would love to get you to talk about the Hollywood space, and I'd like you to also share the Hollywood to Bollywood comparison, because the fact is that as Reliance Games, you guys also release Bollywood titles as well. And how's been that journey, and where do you see both the strength of these IPs and the values that they create, and where do you see weaknesses of these IPs, knowing that they have very, very large heightened growth, and then there's massive dips because they're linked to be an asset class if the film doesn't do well, and there is an impact in the overall life cycle of that game.
Thanks, Sid. First of all, I want to absolutely echo what Rohit said. The game is, the IP, the brand is used more for discoverability point of view. We've taken that as a big mantra when we're looking at a brand, we're looking at an IP, we're looking at a movie we're going after. Because that's one of the basic components that you need to look at. Another component, we see that there are not that many big movie IPs or TV IP games are very successful. There are very few, very handful out there in the marketplace. The reason being is, we typically say that, okay, there's a big movie out there, there's a movie like Doom 3 or Hunger Games or Real Steel or whatever may be, it will drive the game for its own perspective. Unless they make a great game for Doom 3 which you want to play, it has a good session time, it has a good tension. When you feel like I want to play a game, you can get those downloads, but you'll never have a sustainability. So discoverability for branded IP, engageability for a great game. So both of them have to go hand in hand. And as Reliance Games or Jug Games or Zapac, as few of you guys know, we have done all of them. We've learned the hard way by building a crappy game, where we've launched it and had a great, biggest movie. Last year we did the biggest movie of Hunger Games for the, in the Hollywood space. We started to work quite late. The game wasn't ready, but we launched it, and we got tons of downloads. But the sustainability of the game wasn't there. Yeah, as soon as the 2 weeks happened, we got 9-10 million downloads in the first 3 weeks, and then the game died. It just does not. Unless you have a good game, you'll never have a sustainability of that. Another example we did a great game for Real Steel. We did that about 3 years ago. The movie wasn't that a big hit, but the game has been a great hit since then. We've had 70+ million downloads of that game since then. We've had 3 iterations of it, from paid to free. We launched another version of it about 6 weeks ago. In the first 6 weeks alone, we've gotten 5 million downloads globally. And these are numbers which are global, as Sid mentioned, talking about these are global numbers. Most of our games are global perspective from a Reliance Game perspective. We've also done games in India, and there also we've had some big successes and big failures, because in the gaming world it is very hard to say what is going to be a success and what is going to be a failure. You can't just say that because I have a big brand and big IP, I will have a great game and a big success. We launched ICC games, Cricket World Cup games, launched it late, the time of the games was wrong. We were launching it right at the end of it, did not have enough discoverability, and the games have tanked. Right? Cricket World Cup, the whole world, they said there were billion+ people watching the World Cup. If you don't have the game at the right time, right place, and the right gameplay, the game will not do well. Then we have also done games like 3 Idiots. I still remember when we worked on 3 Idiots a few years ago, the transition was happening from a feature phone Java device to the smartphone, an iPhone. And in the first week of the launch, we gotten so many downloads at that time. 100,000 downloads was like a big deal. Right, I'm talking about 2.5, 3 years ago, but that was a big deal that you get those downloads, and we were very happy. But then there have been games like After Earth. We've done games based on After Earth movie. The movie tanked, and the movie was written off before it was released. With all the features and everything, we only sustained about 20,000 downloads on the day one. A week later, I was getting 100 downloads. So it all depends. IP, how they're marketing it, what we're using it, and how much game you build.
So what would you say would be one strength and one weakness to keep in mind when you're dealing with IP games?
The biggest thing which we have learned after doing these for 3 years, and personally I've been working on brands and IP for so long, pick a brand and pick an IP based on which you really believe you can build a game on. Don't just say go after something because the movie is going to be big or a brand is going to be big. We've looked at some big movies where, we were, give an example, right? Hunger Games, biggest movie of the world. We did it, after that Kabam did it, both the games haven't done well. We were given the option to do it another game. Would we do it? I'm not very sure I'll do it, because the IP has too many restrictions. You want to do certain, they want to do a few things with the game which is not possible in the movie. They have restrictions on it, so, give it a chance. Even the biggest movie will go back and say, we're not going to do it, and we pass on that.
So Chirag, why don't you share with us, both from a TV perspective, because you can give a different view from television, because television is viewed very differently as a content type, and again on the movie side as well, and if you could get differentiations in how do you see both the content and IP, and then what is the larger treatment in the gaming form that you take up here?
So Viacom is basically a large company with various TV channels under them, be it MTV, VH1, there is Colors, and there is the whole kids cluster called Nickelodeon. Until 3 or 4 years ago, Viacom did not do a lot of work on digital. About 3 years ago was when the first time Viacom started exploring digital in the form of using games and apps. One of the first games we made for Viacom was a game based on a movie called Bhag Milkha Bhag. Now this was a big risk because though it was a big budget movie, Bhag Milkha Bhag did not have the big stars. It did not have the, plus it was a biopic. Biopics don't really particularly do very well in the mass entertainment. But we made a game, the game did a couple of million downloads within the first month. The movie was a brilliant success. What really worked is that for a good brand, you need a strong brand. It really helps drive your game. Post that, you need a good game to keep sustaining itself. If the game is not great, it will get its downloads, not going to do well. It has a short shelf life, the movie is over and forgotten, the game is forgotten. The advantage that happens with the shows that we have, for example, a lot of the Nick shows that we have, there are popular shows such as Pokemon, there are the SpongeBob SquarePants. When you make games of the show, and the game is good, it's not connected to one particular show. As far as the brand is alive on television, as far as the show keeps running, the game has a much longer shelf life.
So in a nutshell, you're saying TV is far more safer than movies?
At times, yes.
So Rohit, why don't you shed a little bit of light around the entire ROI space? Finally, all of this is done because we all want to make money out of it. So the return on investment on games such as this, how does that play out?
Yeah, specifically in the case of Doom, for us it was an ROI positive, positive, even though the positive was, not so large as such, even after, so many downloads. A couple of reasons for that, the install base in India 2 years ago was, much smaller than, it is now. So we made, some money, via branded endorsement brands, brought the space and, sponsored, part of the game and all those kind of things. What we need to look at, basically, for Robosoft, it was, for 99 Games, Robosoft, it was more like an experiment. We wanted to see the potential, and we learned a few things, and we knew that the star power, what kind of things we can get, if we can combine the star power, the IP, and everything, and align them all closely, you get great discoverability. Now it's up to us, or the creator, to build that sustainability in the game, because otherwise, the LTV is almost, very low. So something like in real estate, Reliance did a great job in making sure that the LTV lasted longer. But when we build in the future, the way we look at it is, in future when we license a Bollywood IP, we would like to see if we can do a Kingdom of Orbit or Fast and Furious kind of a play where we say, let's take this license and milk it for the next 3 years, whenever we have that right. So that's the whole idea. So we'll be ready when we license our next IP.
So Amit, tell me what's your specific take with regards to these games? And now I'm talking the West here. The go-to-market in these games would, because these are global games and you guys go out and get such large downloads, I would presume there would be separate monies being put out to market this extensively because you've got LTVs running. Now, do you wait for the game to have certain amount of sustainability before you put in marketing dollars because you see the effective ROIs to start coming out? Or do you spend certain amount to see what the core build-up of the game is and then you take a call on how you want to sustain it?
I think it's a mix of both, right? Well, when we're launching a game, we absolutely believe in clear country testing. We're spending a lot of time in getting clear, getting in focus on the country testing, getting the data right, making sure that KPIs, the LTVs which we talked about, are there in the game before we start even launching. Forget about from a market, before spending any money on it. That's one. The second thing is when we're launching these games, because of a big brand IP, there's a big marketing budget associated to it. So like $30, $40 million of marketing behind that. That is giving us a big push. Typically, we have stayed away from spending money at the time of the launch. We spend money on Real Steel now after 3.5 years of being launched in there.
because there is, the game has a certain sustainability and availability and it drives the downloads itself. I don't have to go spend a lot of money. That's what IP does. The recognition, because of the IP, gets you the cost of CPI down quite significantly. Can you the big metrics is, can you bring it down to zero? That's what it is, right? You're spending it on, bring your marketing down low, spend your money high, and get a higher LTV. That's the right balance of what we're talking about.
Chirag, lastly, if you could share with me, do you end up doing half the TV games because the producer and the TV channel wants you to do it, or you really do it for ROI? We've all been in the same space.
So it's a mix of both. Partly we make the games because they help promote the show. They're a marketing function, but partly we pick on shows which will have a good return on our investments. Certain really popular shows which have a great audience. And I think those games do end up being they take a little longer than a movie-based game which happens all together. They take a little longer, but they eventually do work. It gives us a lot more time to tweak and maintain the game.
Great. So that was the sense with regards to giving you a play on what branded gaming and entertainment is, and the takeout is that at the end of the game needs to be good from a gameplay perspective. The ROI by default comes in because the asset class, which is movies, and the cost, which is investment that are done to release this content, is so high that itself drives the larger distribution of that. The LTV becomes a question once you have a great game and you've got consumption happening. That's when you start deciding, do you want to further invest in distribution to actually create LTV value. And what you hear out of the panel here is that yes, branded games are great to have, but you need to choose the right IP, you need to choose the right gameplay, and then be able to get the distribution out there. Now I'll open it to the floor. If you've got any questions for the panel, would love to take that.
We're right on the number. So we'll probably take a couple of questions. Anyone got any questions? I mean, for me, I wish there were some European developers hearing some of the stuff you were saying, particularly the comments about Real Steel, because when you get an example where someone's taken a movie license and made the game its own identity out of that, that's something that more people should do, where the game itself has its own momentum, but it's got a foundation that's something familiar. I think that's an incredibly important lesson.
It's been a mix of both great gameplay and and something which has worked with the audience, and we've continued to focus on quality in gameplay. There are few of the team members which started off, and and I think the team has continued to build on it. It's been a great experience taking that IP and continue to build on it.
And it's a lesson I think a lot of people can take with them, because we know so many companies that have gone down the route of finding IP, spending a lot of money on getting the IP, and then they discover they haven't got enough money left to build it, let alone do the marketing of the thing that they've just made.
I think that's bang on. I mean, one of the biggest deja vu in IP base is actually what he just said. The fact that you spend so much money to get the IP, and by the time you realize that you've got to build a great game, you don't have the funds to do that.
And there are 3 letters to be scared of. THQ. On that note, sorry, I have lots of old friends who are at THQ, so I apologise to them really. So thank you very much, guys. That was fantastic. Obviously, what we've been doing there is talking about taking someone else's content and ideas. Thank you very much. Great stuff.
Running on a little bit delayed, and I think that's why we need to catch up on time, because there will be an Indie Award ceremony, and then I don't want to hold people longer from their drinks and party and all that stuff. Yeah. So, guys, thank you very much for being here. The topic is very exciting, very inspiring, very how do we create games which can ignite the imagination of India? Now, do you think this topic is worth discussing or not? Or do you think there are some nuances of this topic? No, you will not be allowed to do that. You have to give the reason for no. Yeah. You want to start with it?
Sorry, is this topic worth discussing? Hi, my name is Anand. I'm with Tiny Mogul Games. I had designed there. Sorry, you want?
Do you think there are nuances of this topic?
Well, yes, I think there are some things worth discussing. So, yeah, I mean, I can't just say like make Sunny Leone games. Let's make Sunny Leone games. That will work in India. Panel closed. Let's go home. But it'll work. So, yeah. No, I think it's just a couple of quick things. One, in terms of capture India's imagination, I just think we need to define that if this discussion is not to meander. And I would just say that it's a couple of things. Firstly, of course, India is not a monolith. There's no Indian imagination. I mean, that's a large, really large kind of thing to say, right? Captures, does it mean that the guy in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Kashmir, Gujarat, everybody is going to trip on the same thing? There are very few things that will have such universal appeal, and those are likely to have global appeal. So maybe there, are smaller chunks that are still worth pursuing just because of the sheer weight of numbers. But in terms of capturing imagination, I would like to say that like two things, right? There's the thing, what is capture imagination? Are we fair in saying it's something that the Indian audience would like, want to look at, download and try, and then play constantly, for an X period of time and engage with that game and enjoy it? There are two aspects to that. So the first part can be got through some theme, some thematic thing that connects emotionally with Indian audience. So there's a theme. But sometimes we tend to think that it's only that, right? The second part of the people actually, after downloading your game and playing the first 10 minutes, staying engaged with it, is in the details of the implementation. Of how you take that theme and how it's not just like a lazy slap-on sort of skinning that will give you that. If you must, and if you believe that you want an Indian theme, and that's a separate discussion, but if you want an Indian theme to appeal to the Indian audience, and if you want, then you need to really get into the details of implementing that and do that really carefully for it to work.
So, so what Anand said, well, to an extent,
Can you repeat the question for everyone?
So essentially, Anand's point was that India is a monolith and you can't really think India as one entity and then think of creating games for India. Now, I just wanted to reality check whether all of us are in unison and in agreement with them, or we do have some other perspective, and I just wanted Anand's perspective on that.
So to an extent, agree to what Anand says, but then there is also a set of games which I think transcends beyond regions, beyond borders. Like Anand said, yes, we create games which probably appeal to a particular set of people. But then if you look at examples like a Candy Crush saga or a Temple Run or a Clash of Clans, today, if you look at any app store, even the Indian app store, these are the games which are in the top ranks, not because they are targeted at the Indian audience, but because there is a strong depth of gameplay which engages the user. Yes, initially you probably download it because you see the other guy next to you on the flight playing it, but then what holds you is the content of the game and the production quality and the depth of gameplay which brings about. So it's a combination of both, I would say.
So Hrishi and Shailesh, being the creative geniuses here, Anand spoke about we can't create games for a monolith. Ninad says that it has to be emotional engagement and all of it. So what's your take on it? How does one go about crafting games which for India?
I don't know, I mean, honestly, we've never really made games for the Indian audience, we've only made games. So the way I look at it is India's imagination doesn't have any boundaries, right? Like, people all over the world can imagine about the same things. And if you can make a good game for the global audience, Indians will like it as well. So my take has always been, like, don't just limit to India, because if you can create, and others pointing out, like, even in India, the top games don't really need to have an Indian theme to be successful. So make a good game, make it global, and it'll work in India as well as
yeah, my view is slightly off this topic a little bit. It's the question I'm asking is, are there enough reasons to make games that will capture the Indians' imagination. As opposed to making a game that what Shailesh is talking about and Ninad is talking about, that is just appeals to people in general, right? And if you do tend to make those kind of games, then you're just appealing to a global audience, and we've seen that in a couple of panels before also. All the indies, all the small developers, they tend to make games that appeal to global audience. So why is it that developers are not really making games to capture the India's imagination, and is it even worth it? Right? And the question of being worth it is a question of business rather than the craft or the creativity. And is that problem solved? And is it too early to be talking about even capturing India's imagination?
So I see Anand really raising his hand before I go. Can you just pass on mic to Anand? Let him.
Yeah, I think it's worth it, depending on who you are. If you're like a really small studio who needs to turn around profits like really quickly and you need to stay alive, maybe not. But for some people, I think it's worth it, because just see, the way I look at it, there is nothing I care about more. And people who've known me in the industry know this, that I've been yapping about making games for India for like donkey's years. That's the only thing I care about. And the reason I care about it is that you just look at any other entertainment form. You look at movies. We like to watch our own movies. We like to watch movies in Hindi or Tamil or Telugu or Malayalam, right? And those are huge numbers. We consume television. It's local television that's consumed far more than, and it's not just a question of language, it's a question of language, it's a question of flavor, it's a question of cultural fit. We just consume content in other mediums that is significantly different from, something with a Western or a Japanese sensibility. Or we have a very, very unique flavor. So why should games be any different? Because right now we're talking about people who already play games, who are already exposed to international games and hence do that. But we're talking about a huge emerging market of people who have never played games, simply because nobody's made a game that they've been like, hey, I want to try this, right? And so it is definitely worth going after that, and we believe in that as a studio, which is why we're going after it.
Just to build on that point, and a very interesting point. Today we are talking about mobile gaming audience which are playing, let's say, even if I take Candy Crush, 30 million, 40 million people. Either in their house somebody is very enamored with the Western games, has been an internet savvy person, and hence he or she introduced the game in the house. I think my point is, when I'm looking at India's imagination, I'm looking at those 300 million people which have never seen internet, never played games, and when they're going to come on mobile internet. Do you really believe that these guys, some of them may also have a word of mouth, some of them may come to know about Temple Run, Sabesa person, blah, blah, blah. But if you want to kind of induct them into gaming, is there something which you have got to do differently than just aping what is happening in West, and or maybe the same games? And which is where, Shailesh, my kind of question to you was that, do you think then for that audience, making a game for them would be different than making a game?
Again, I don't really know because I've not done it. But of course it will be different, but I don't know how. Because my concern is also that these people, do they have devices to play these games on? Because yes, we have so many Android devices, but how many of them are actually capable of running decent games? You would know that more than anyone else. Yeah, no, decent is like, okay, are they technologically capable of running good games? Like, so many games frame so badly on Flappy Bird. Yeah, Flappy Bird can also frame on some devices. Like, we are porting Sociobot to Android right now. That is struggling on so many Android devices. So many Android devices.
So, it's two things. One is, yes, so the question is, are we ready today from both the business point of view, professional point of view? Maybe, maybe not, right? But to kind of take forward what Manish said, that to kind of answer your question, gaming, like all forms of entertainment, is largely culturally driven. We grew up reading Amar Chitrapatha, we grew up watching crappy shows on Doordarshan.
They were not crappy, I also object to that.
On the production quality.
Hum Log and Bunyad still is the better show than whatever happens today.
Moving on. So it's also about how do you kind of get a person who's never played a game before to get introduced to the concept of gaming.
That's the point I was making.
So it can and the cultural thing can play a role. So today, if you launch, maybe a poker game will work in India, but maybe not across India. We have seen with Team Patti and Rummy, those games are kind of, they touch a chord within you that, oh, I know, I play Team Patti as a kid, I played on this, on the phone. So it's also about how you use, like what Anand was saying, the theme, but integrate it with the concept and the content in such a way that the game becomes compelling for both regular gamer as well as a new person who is coming into the gaming space to get introduced to gaming, to start consuming these games.
So hold on from there. You touched upon a very good point about Team Patti, and we have seen recent inflow of money coming into two companies which are doing great Team Patti games. Now, Hrishi, point to you. You said that, is it the right time to make a game? Is it, so timing the market has been a curse or a hallmark, depending upon you end up with side of the success or failure. Now, do you think these companies have taken that risk and hence been rewarded, and they will keep on growing like in any other vertical? The small studios, they have nothing to lose, they go for all out and they see success, and then VCs come and back them, versus corporate like us, which have a profitability, quarter, this, that, all such baggages to deal with, and hence we are not able to do that. Is that the thing which we are grappling with? Because there are examples of Indian ecosystem getting funded in double-digit $1 billion, and do you see them as a green shoots or do you see them as flukes?
Yeah, like we were talking about, it's timing, right? It's too early to tell. But definitely you need that inflow of money to be able to address that. And you know, startups have their own problems, corporates have their own problems, indies have their own problems. And you know, when it comes to financial and all of that, then helps them take a decision of what do we do next. Do we create content that is going to be for the Indian audience, which will capture the India's imagination, or you know, do we do something that is more global in nature and we don't have that appetite to earn money? Because you're competing on a platform where you have high-level production quality of international players as well, right? And the grammar of that platform, right? Gaming, the grammar of gaming is not the same as all the other entertainment medium, right? Because when we're talking about games, in the end it's about the game. It's about that chess move. So it's about...
Sorry to intervene here. A Salman Khan movie versus a Shyam Benegal movie versus a Gravity, obviously there is a difference in content. But a Salman Khan movie makes tons and tons of money. Right. There are audience for that. Right. Now you may say story depth, you may say XYZ, but it is working and some people are getting entertained. So when you say grammar of gaming versus grammar of other mediums, how is it different?
I mean, because it's about the game, it's not about the theme, right? This is what similar to what Anand was saying, and now I'm shaking it. But it is about the game, right? I mean, you just agreed on that. Okay. Yes.
So I don't believe that it is only about that. I think team plays a very strong role, because someone with the same mechanics will play somebody will play Halo, but he will not play Call of Duty, and they're like, it's because of the theme. It's because I like science fiction, but I don't like to play World War games. Themes are important. They're not all important.
Call of Duty because they don't think it's as...
Maybe, but I'm just saying, yeah, but it's not a non-issue. It is not, theme is not a non-issue. It is a strong issue, and it is an important issue. So, can I just say a couple of things from in terms of what we have learnings from? We're seeing some fairly good numbers from simple games that we've been releasing on, say, Hype Messenger. We're seeing hundreds of thousands of plays, and we're seeing a strong difference in games that. Like the same game, let's say simple games, they're like quizzes or guessing games and stuff like that. So they're not really in terms of like mechanics-based games like you guys are talking about, and that's a different story. But this exact same same kind of game is seeing dramatically different adoption rates and retention just based on things.
Because the grammar is equal. Because the grammar is equal in both sides, then your theme on top of that makes it differentiate. And I agree it will make a differentiator once your grammar is better than everything else that is in the market. So you have to compete with the international players at the gameplay stage first before you can slap on a theme which will take it to the next level for the Indian audience.
It depends on, see, if you're talking about the Indian audience, the burgeoning Indian audience, guys who are using the phone for the first time, guys who are using a game for the first time, see, I just think that you need to make games which you don't have to teach anything. And just you don't teach anything. The most successful game that we did was a game which had no tutorial. Like nothing, no yellow arrows, I hate those. Like bouncing here, this, that, click here, click there. So we did a game with none of that, and that was our most successful game. So whether it is theme or mechanics, the mechanics need to be simple for that audience. If you're talking about a hardcore audience who's used to playing other games and stuff, that's a different story. But if you're looking at mass market games, just make super simple stuff. Mechanics have to be super simple, clean, easy to understand. Theme has to be easy to understand, something that they're already familiar with, something that they feel comfortable with. I don't think it's a non-issue.
So guys, there are two, from a discussion, two clear segments which are emerging. If you were to look at India, one is the segment which you are talking about, which is exposed to international quality of gaming, expects the same quality, knows how to go and discover for those games, is driven by a lot of your leaderboards, etc., etc. And there is another segment which is going to be emerging or emerged, which is non-mobile internet savvy, not internet savvy. Mobile is the first point, have never played games. I think the behaviors are going to be very, very different for these two segments. And I think one of the things which I really understand from this panel is that you got to make choices on which segment are you trying to make your game for. And if you're trying to make a game for a global oriented exposed segment, then you don't need to just leave it for India. Then you can make a game which is a global standards, global game, because then it's a game, it's a game. And I absolutely agree, theme will allow you to get downloaded, but if the game sucks, the game sucks. Theme can't do anything about it. So, but my kind of one of the thing which I wanted to really understand more deep is the second segment of audience, which if we kind of see around us, which is kind of really coming to mobile ecosystem very fast, very thick. Are there any thoughts on which, what kind of games, what kind of mechanisms, what kind of things, or what can be simple checklists which we should really think of and while we are really kind of planning to do that? Or if you think that's not the segment too early, that's also fine, I'm saying. Then kind of focus on the first segment and think about if we were to do it, that there are green shoots and or somebody wants to take a risk of when, but wants to make games. What are the things which they should keep in mind while they are really creating those games for India?
So I think from my perspective, if you're looking at the second set of audience, we're just entering ultra casual, localized, and social. If a developer takes care of these three parameters, I think you can really reach out to that audience.
Does the language play a part in that?
Language does play a lot of that.
It's related to also the language in which they're actually using the phone, but at some point it will be.
Sure.
So language as well as the thematic part of it, right? I mean, from a theme perspective, what might appeal to, say, a person in Ghaziabad may not appeal to somebody in Kochi, right? Because it's culture. So it has, so when I say localized, it's not just language, it's also contextually how relevant it is to the user. So the whole concept of solo move, which is social localized mobile, that needs to come into play and
nice one.
No, I agree. There is, you know, I mean, for the natives out there who for this is the first internet accessible game medium. There is content that they'll have to you know that will be relevant only for them, and that. Right, so I mean if you can get the right level of gameplay, and I'm going to put that caveat on everything, if you can get it, because you know you're competing with the Candy Crushers, and as long as the Candy Crush
is really competing, and that's a question, are you really competing? Those audience may not even aware of what Candy Crush is. They will never start Google Play Store is a question which I'm saying. Because the local OEM has something embedded or a local OEM app store, and whatever is available, what they consume.
But then that's a distribution problem, right? That's not
distribution
problem. I mean, if you're saying that when in the old days of the walled gardens, where the distribution was limited to only what you're seeing on the Doordarshan TV sets, for example, right? Then that's all you have to watch, right? And that's all you have to access. Today, if the availability is there, it's a if question is that he's not going to visit the Google Play Store, but then he has equal likelihood of visiting the Google Play Store than visiting the local stores or the embedded thing.
Simple question, like if you talk to Micromax, they will tell you how many games are getting downloaded of their app store.
Right.
And if you talk to Google Play, you will also know.
Sure.
And it's not the ratio difference is of 100:1. It is also not 50:1. So the local app store
for that phone.
For that phone.
Yes, of course.
So the point I'm trying to make is Micromax if gets X number of downloads and Google Play gets Y number.
Correct.
They could be in these not very difference in magnitude. Now the point which I'm trying to make, Shailesh, is that if the guys which are still early majority of mobile internet, I'm not even talking about late majority which is going to come in the future, they're still consuming from Micromax or Lava or Carbon, their app stores. And in spite of Google Play and all of it, then do you think what is the reason for them to go to those app stores?
I have no idea.
Exactly.
Why would they go to those stores?
Exactly my point.
Do they go to those stores?
Big time.
Do
Big
we have
time.
numbers on that?
Yes.
Can you share them?
I can't share with them, but my...
So why would I make game for numbers which I don't know what they are? Like, why would I make a game for an audience I don't know how much they're going to pay? I don't know if they exist. I don't know how many of them are going to go to Google versus going to this thing. So it just doesn't add up for me.
So is it the lack of information which will form a lack of strategy for the development? So if the information was available, will you consider it?
Yes, I will.
Okay. Yeah.
If this information is available, I will consider it.
Sure. So my job would be to separately one-on-one get you the information.
Sure. Great. Let's do it.
Because those are the realities, and I need to. Why I'm not sharing, I need to check with those guys. That's the only reason why I'm not kind of sharing. Yes. 1 minute. So yes. So let's shoot.
So this question is for Anand, and Rishi can also go for it.
But he's not sure whether Rishi can go for it.
Yeah, if you want to, you can. So you're saying theme is important, and you're saying gameplay is important. And in my opinion, yes, I agree with
I'm saying both are important. I didn't say only one.
So both are important. So the question goes, if today the Candy Crush quality is available as Nathulal sweets with jalebis, laddu pedas, and kaju katlis, will it sell more? If yes, why? If no, why?
Yeah, I think it will make a small difference for the thing. Like I can talk about our audience, like for hike users in B towns and C towns. It would definitely be more easy for them to relate to that stuff and have a better emotional bond with the game, for sure. But the gameplay of Candy Crush is what is going to hold them in that for longer. But that emotional connect, like I mean, look, if Mike did not put in the story in Thomas Was Alone, right? With those, they're just rectangles. That's all they are. But because they're Thomas and LC, or I don't remember the names, but that added so much of emotional heft to solving those puzzles, and it will have a role. Now, is it just Nathulal? Is it just changing the sprites to Indian sweets? Or if you have a character who's talking to you in Hindi, in vernacular, I believe it will make a difference. Some difference to the emotional connect of experience that you for sure.
So that's my question. Is exactly the same game, maybe King himself done it. Will they make a significant difference in that question? Because that's what we're talking about, right? Imagination of the player.
What is significant? Now you'll have to talk numbers.
10x.
10x, no. No. 10x what? 10x downloads? In our, I don't know. These are things you have to try. It's difficult for me to just say yes or no here, right? Will it make a 10x difference? That's just like shooting in the dark. But
what's your opinion?
Yeah, in my opinion, in our market, if I put a game, you know, saying some Nathulal sweet thing in my B-town and C-town market, it will make a significant difference to the number of downloads I get from that icon.
There has been some data, I can't remember the source, I'll dig it out, which does show that just a simple localization does have a significant effect, but it's probably more like 1.5x than it is 10x.
Yeah. So I don't know about how many x, but it will make, I believe it will make a strong difference.
I also agree, and I agree with you, Anand. All things being equal, the gameplay being exactly equal, King themselves create the Indian version of it, then it will make a difference. The point is, King has to, or whoever is doing the development has to create that gameplay of exactly the same quality as everything else, and then all the other execution factors and the thematic factors can come on top of that, and then it will make a difference.
For retention. But for installs, even the icon Chumma saying Natulal Sweets will make a difference.
Yes.
It will.
Yeah, okay, guys, questions, please.
Hello. Cool. And it does, I do localization, it makes a massive difference. Even just the language we found is massively, it depends on, how important, obviously stories are important for our game or whatever. So my question is, you're talking a lot about Indian culture in games and kind of putting that content in. It's something that's happening in the UK as well. What I'm interested about though is we're starting to see games in the West that are using the cultural relevance of the country they're from. So an example, Be Never Alone is an Inuit developed game. It's had massive success in Europe and America because of that cultural identity. With this stuff, is there a potential for a knock-on effect of a game that is very specifically Indian breaking out worldwide? While you were talking, I was trying to think of an Indian indie game that I've heard of, and they're not crossing over. I'm interested in whether you think there's things you can do to take advantage of that situation.
I think that's what I'm most interested in actually. We sadly don't have the budgets to pursue some of the ideas we have, which we probably do that, but that I believe that's the best chance we have, like use what's unique to us and like present it in a way that's appealing to not just here but also to the West. So I agree, and that's what we hope to do someday.
It's yeah, and we also have a large Indian population in the UK, so Bollywood films do very well within a niche in the UK, so it seems like there's definitely cultural potential there.
Last question, guys.
So, all of you, hey guys, this is Mayur from So all of you guys talked about theme as well as gameplay. In my opinion, one of the biggest problems that indie developers still face, especially who are making games for India, is also visibility. Right? Like the Western audience has a very different way of getting to content. They explore content through YouTube, they explore content through a lot of channels on the internet itself. Whereas the Indian audience has a very different tastes in terms of how they access that content. So especially this is for tiny mobile guys as well. What do you guys do to reach out to audience like this which have a different way of discovering content on the internet?
It's very simple for us. Our focus is just doing with Hike what other messengers have done in other parts of the world. So we are using Hike as our discovery and as our distribution platform for games. How we do that is like a longer thing, and I can tell you about that.
Question is about 3D animation films, which are quite apart. So my basic question is I want to ask about why Indian animation film industry had failed to produce a blockbuster. Why still we are waiting for a blockbuster 3D animation movie after Kochati?
You're in a wrong panel, wrong forum. I will connect you with the right person. There will be a gentleman, Ashish Kulkarni. I'll personally take you, and please ask him as much as you want. Absolutely wrong forum. On that happy note, thank you guys. I thoroughly enjoyed having this session.
I write for Forbes, Mashable, TechCrunch, whatever, all of these different places, so I know a little bit about mobile games. But I also used to live in India, 2008 to 2010. Before that I worked for a mobile games aggregator called Player X, and we had the unfortunate experience of failing 51 games by a company that produced really rubbish games, and we failed every single one of them because of the bugs and the QA, and we failed the 52nd game. Unfortunately for us and my family, that game was Angry Birds. So that's my lack of authority. So we did some stuff in India, 2007. There wasn't much going on in the smartphone market or the iPhone market. It was skewed, unfair to develop a market, as I'm sure you remember. Lived here from 2008 to 2010. I became a Bollywood film star in the second year. So I was hanging out with all these Bollywood guys. It was just Blackberries. Deepika Padukone, never go out for a drink with her. She's an absolutely appalling person. But no one had but Bipasha Basu, absolute sweetheart, lovely girl. Abhishek Manchand, good guy. But I did about 50 days filming, and we used to talk late into the night when there was a snake on set or something like that, about content and whether they could move into different markets, whether they could go to Hollywood. And they said there's no chance of us going to Hollywood, we're always going to be cast as Italians or really, really Indian. You know what I mean? Their words, not mine. And at that time I was consultant for Paramount in LA and Nokia and all types of stuff, so I know a lot about the market. 5 years ago, not so much now. Just been judging 20 different developers, amazing, amazing stuff. So tapping into India for a great opportunity, we did that in 2007. We were a bit early to the market, we were doing a lot of video. So that's my alleged authority in this area. The three gentlemen I'm with have obviously got more brains than I have. So if you would introduce yourself from left to right, then we'll start some questions and maybe make it a bit spicy before we go to the market.
Hi guys, I'm Jugul from Roby John Studios. So I've been in the gaming industry in India from 2006. In the previous avatar, we were Chirag Games. We used to do outsource content. In 2011, we started doing our own IP, and we used to publish to third-party publishers. 2012, we pivoted again, and we started publishing our own games, and that's Roby John Studios, and we concentrate on the social casino space. As far as India is concerned, we've been tapping India only for talent for so many years. We haven't really tried to cater to the customers here. We used to have a game called Cricket Master Blaster, a lot of players, never monetized. I might want to go back and look at it now that there is some monetization coming in and the whole ecosystem is falling in place. But as of now, we concentrate on the social casino space, the audio. We license contents from black casinos, make them, release it. Mostly the monetization comes from US, Europe, and Australia. Thank you.
Raj Thadani. I'm Director Studio Operations, Bash Gaming. Till about March 2014, we were Bash Bitter in India, but we were taken over by GSN TV and Games. So we are a group of about 6 studios now globally, and we've got games out of India, which is Bingo Bash and Slots Bash, and then we have other casual games from our other different studios globally. Right now, Bingo Bash is one of the successful products which is born and brought up in India. Obviously, the market is not Indian, but the concept, everything is Indian. We right now have 5 million MAU and a daily revenue of more than $500,000. And right now we have got a lot of pipeline, because being a part of GSN, there's a lot of growth opportunity, which is why we are over here to talk about what GSN is looking at, what Bingo is looking at, and what Bash Gaming is looking at. So hopefully I'll be able to answer all your questions.
My name is Oliver Jones, co-founder and director of Moonfrog Labs, which is, I believe, the youngest company on the planet, having started 2013-14. We make games specifically for the Indian market. We've made a game called Team Patty Gold, which is like a free-count game for India. My background, I originally came from Zynga. I've been in India for years. I think India's kind of accepted me as one of their own. As for snake stories, I can't think I can top Monty, but there was once a snake in the Moonfrog office when we first started out. But thankfully, our office manager used to be a snake catcher, so so it ended well. Yeah.
Thank you. So tapping into India for a great opportunity seems to me almost what the previous panel were kind of, wonderfully discussing. Like we're going to have a fight up on the stage. So tapping into India for a great opportunity, to me, seems this great opportunity has lasted quite a long time. You know what I mean? And the maturation of the mobile games industry, whatever sector it is, seems to be finally happening. So I would take that question, tapping into India for a growing opportunity. I would look at that as non-Indian companies moving into this space. So, what do you think?
I think this is a great time for the Indian industry, and if we talk about 2 years before, there was not much visibility of what India can do and India can produce, and now we have companies like Zynga, Rovio entering over here. We have GSN who has just entered. They really want to expand, they really want to tap the right talent, and I've been in the industry for the last 15 years. I know there's a lot of talent out there, but it's not explored yet. And it's just that because we were competing directly with markets that are hardcore console games, nobody thought that casual market is huge, and then India has that talent. We've got great companies like Moonfrog, just Moonfrog right now, sitting next to me with a lot of potential. So I'm sure this huge talent out there which we want to tap into, a lot of great ideas downstairs that we saw, and it is the right time to and the right place to be in.
Jugul, I would ask you a question. What do you think held India back? Do you think it's been held back by operators or distribution or marketing? Or?
So, if you really look back, I've been a part of Nasscom Forums for the past, from 2005-06, and we've been hearing that India will start monetizing the next year. The whole ecosystem will take, all in place. The operators will, will start giving us better revenue share and everything. And we all tried, somebody was saying at the right place at the right time. I think, they are at the right place at the right time. So now, I was talking to somebody and they said, already the operators, the career building is coming to much better rates and things like that. So the whole ecosystem is slowly falling into place. Of course, the development ecosystem was there. Of course, we used to cater to Western audience, so Western sensibilities were lacking a little bit. So now we have a whole bunch of kids, if you want to cater to a Western audience also, who have grown playing up games, So, so the whole thing, now if you go to a campus and recruit people also, you don't have to teach them about gaming. They have done that, but when we were there, some maybe 5 or 7 or 8 years back, we have to, we used to even get them into a room and make them play games, and then make them. So eventually we were dependent on Western designers and stuff like that. So those kind of things are no more needed. So that way the whole ecosystem. Yeah, no. So he came here for her, maybe to understand the Indian audience is a bigger challenge than we understanding.
Absolutely. I mean, the great opportunity is 1.1 billion people.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
That's the local market.
Yeah, well, the urban market maybe. It's a joke. Laugh. But the whole, I think that the movement from Western companies into India has been a joke, and I think it's been that 1.1 billion that's given them the kind of the impetus to do it. But I don't see any companies that have done that particularly well.
You mean Western companies trying to localize their content for India?
Localization is, I think, probably sort of on the other panel. I don't think that's the question.
Okay, well, I haven't seen typically, recently, what big companies have really come to India, in the last year?
Disney doing all right?
Disney,
Did they come in the last year?
No, not last year. They've been around.
But what I'm seeing is a lot more new companies actually starting up. At least in Bangalore, I could name off the top of my head 4 or 5 companies that have even gone.
Yeah, we have an office in Pune, which is a great city, with great talent and great people. I'd like to ask a question that I haven't known much about over the last 5 or 6 years. Why has Android taken over being?
It comes down to what is the lowest barrier to entry.
It's the price point.
It's the price point of the access.
And Apple, I think, has been more forthcoming, where Google has stepped back a bit. And maybe today's morning session, we had a good discussion where they want to step up and they want to make sure that they have their presence better.
Yep.
So that price point will make a lot of sense.
So I'll go back to the point of growing opportunity. You're saying it's an exploding opportunity. Tell me why. I still don't know why.
Opportunities can be taken in a variety of ways. There's the talent opportunity, there's the local industry opportunity, there's the creative opportunity, the investment opportunity. It's just all of these things together creating an overall massive.
And you think it's the investors that are pushing that? There are companies that come in, VCs, the funds.
It's the ecosystem. 2 years back we did not have the ecosystem, now we have. The costs are obviously lower, which is a very crucial point for success of the game. So the costs are lowering down, people are getting more mature. They've got, 3-4 years back, there were a handful of developers, people from IIT wanted to get into software. Now they see a new realm that they can explore into. So, a typical typical Indian fellow, someone like me from old school, my dad would say, why do you want to get into gaming? What is gaming? But now people want to get into gaming. So that ecosystem has been built. A lot of companies, they want new talent. They don't want to, maybe they don't want to hire MBAs. They want to hire people who are passionate to play games. So if you want to make games and you're passionate about it, play games and come and join. You don't have to have a degree for it. And that's what Western culture was, and is still now. So games are, because they're entertaining, it does not matter who you are or what you are. And what I've seen is that games is the only medium that gets everyone together. And that is what social gaming has done. So with console, I might not get a PS4 available in India very easily, but I do have my smartphone. And I can talk to anybody across the globe and say, okay, would you want to play with me and do a mashing? And that's great.
I don't mind answering the question for my person. I did a series of articles for Mashable about tech hubs in the world and this silly Silicon Valley emulation, which is completely ridiculous. And I did it in Nairobi, and I did it in Bogota, and I did it in Mumbai. Which kind of city in India is becoming a hub of developers or publishers? Is it Gurgaon? Is it Bangalore? Is it Pune?
Hyderabad, Pune, Bangalore, Gurgaon to some extent, yes. But again, it's where the talent is, and right now we are in a space where talent is good to move.
So it doesn't matter. So Jugul, you don't think you need a silicon?
No, if you ask me, we've been in Cochin for Cochin.
Of course, Cochin, I forgot.
Yeah. So we 3-4 years back we almost partitioned the entire office in Bangalore and decided against it. Maybe because we thought that we were able to find cheaper and better talent and less attrition in Cochin kind of. And even today, I'm pretty confident that I can fill an entire office with people from there.
So the ecosystem is being built up for the education.
Yes.
Okay. All right. What do you think about the mobile games companies? Do you think they're trying to exit? What do you think they're trying to exit? They're happy to sell, or they want to just build up a proper business? It's a very broad question.
It's a mix of everything. Some of them would want to stay and grow and make that ecosystem lucrative for everyone. Some of them is just there for the business side of things, where they want to build, get a good IP, and then maybe sell it. So it depends, and it's on the longevity. It all depends on the ecosystem, how well the big players play.
Yeah.
We talk about Rovio, we talk about Zynga.
I'm pretty sure with the kind of investment that has come in Moonfrog, they will soon start looking for talent. So it should be, if there is a small indie group with good talent, they will go out and definitely pick up.
We are looking.
See, definitely.
We are.
So that's the way to look at it, right?
It's not just people. It's technology. It's anything that is there out there. Good ideas. We want to take that. We want to take that up. We want to work with you guys. We want to make sure that the ecosystem is built in that way that everybody grows, and so we grow.
Well, Oliver and I will be cases in point. People have come to India to look at the opportunities. Oliver, what are your first thoughts this first year? Yeah. What's your opinion of the whole ecosystem?
So, as I discussed before, a lot of gaming companies are going right now, and I think a lot of the people who are forming those companies are people who have left the larger multinationals and have decided to sort of make things from start to finish inside. And for me, that's the most exciting opportunity in India currently. So, and it's also sort of a creative sort of enabling of it's like designers can now really start getting into the early creative process. And I like to think of India actually as what's the square kilometer? It's like 3.6 million square kilometers. I like to think of that entire space as a blank canvas. The players lack preconceptions, as Aaron was saying before, of how games should behave. So, for a creative person, there's actually so many opportunities there to really define how games will be played in the future. So, that's the creative opportunity.
So they're tapping into India for a growing opportunity. I mean, I've just seen 20 developers showing their games. Pretty broad church of the stuff that they showed me, from someone that didn't have a business card to someone that didn't have any idea of money to a pretty reasonably mature company with a track record of Rovio, failed games and all that stuff. So a lot of the stuff that I've seen have been physics-based or mathematical-based as opposed to puzzle-based. Which, so with you sir, which areas do you think that the Indian gaming users What are they interested in? They shoot them up, want to do puzzles?
Yeah. So, what I have traditionally seen is, traditionally we all used to play cricket games. India Games used to make it, Disney went on to make that, we used to have cricket games. After that, if you really look at it, people used to sell rummy as a game of skill, and they used to really monetize rummy. Real money rummies on Ace 2 3, Rummy Circle, and all those people. Now I think Operoi and Moonfrog has again played on to the Teen Patti, which is again the gambling genre kind of. So Indians traditionally have a gambling tendency to that. I know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. To add to that, even though we all have made casual casino games, don't believe that casual casino is the only opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah, so, as I said, Jason as well, though we are in casino space, but we want to explore different genres and different types of games.
Yeah.
And in India, the best part is that people play all types of games. We have got people who are hardcore NFS fans, we have got people. I am a God of War fan. I still want to play God of War any day, and I still want to go back to console. But the point is that do we have the infrastructure to get into console gaming? Maybe not in India right now, but do we have the gaming niche or gaming market? Yeah, definitely we have. Absolutely. So
there's no one player. There are various kinds of players. I think India is a very diverse place, and there are, especially what we found out, there are a lot of people who love gambling. But there's a larger population to cater to there who have different tastes.
One of the questions or the conversations I was having earlier was that, India's just like the West was 10 or 15 years ago, which I find a little bit offensive. Well, you can tell me. I spent a lot of time in Africa over the last 3 or 4 years, and the whole nature of the philosophy of piggybacking on the mistakes of the West, and then going straight to mobile without needing to lay cable, and going straight to a feature phone plus market and all that stuff. What do you think? What do you think India is creating? What's coming out of India? Are they literally behind, or are you behind?
I think there is an influence, definitely. I will not say no. But again, I've been a part of games that are for India and have been made in India, like Hanuman. I produced Hanuman. I've done a lot of games that are Indian content for the Indian market. The market is, as I said, was not ready then. But I'm sure if the content is there, the quality is there, we are ready. And we have, and even in the previous discussion that we had, they've got a lot of stories to tell. We are storytellers. We are bluffers. We bluff to any given stuff. We bluff. Yeah, that's fine. We can bluff on Teen Batti or we can bluff on story. And there is a huge potential.
I was arriving at the last question was, traditionally this is what we have seen that was work, but that's not the limit. And people have experimented on different games, but maybe the market, we were too early for the market then.
Yeah,
but now that the whole ecosystem and the bus is there, might be relaunching the whole thing might even work.
People used to say there was a lot of sizzle, but there was no stakes. But now there's definitely a stake.
And a lot of new players in the market who want to explore, who want to exploit, which is a good thing. We were never explored and exploited.
Tell me about the operators, how are they getting on? Are they being supportive, or are they being a hindrance? What are they doing?
Again,
bear in mind that operators never come to shows like this.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they don't. Again, it's hardcore business for them. So for them it's app or game. It doesn't matter to them. For us, as we call it ourselves as gamers, we would want more game support. Like today also. Marketing support, visibility. If we are not making Indian games, we don't get visibility. That is where we want them to help the indie gamers. That is where people downstairs that are burning their hands off. They want to be known. They want to be heard. They want to be showcased. So if these guys can showcase them and get those on board.
Imagine there's quite a few developers out there. So we're going to take a couple of questions because we're really late. Any advice for new sales and ethics coming inwards for Indian games developers? What should they be doing?
I would say that this is the right time at the right place kind of. So if anybody wants to start up and maybe you should target the Indian market and forget about maybe monetization, show some traction. If the investors, they will put in money, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. It's going to be a herd mentality with a lot of investors also. So they would want to see some downloads, not real revenues, but then you hit the market, you should get real content. So
what I think is, and I've been always saying that if you want to make games, the more you play, the more you learn, and best content is out there?
I completely agree. It's definitely a player's market. Making games, acquiring users is a lot like taxi aggregators. They're trying to find, they're trying to find as many users as possible, and that's the game.
So I think you're still talking. You were on the panel before. You should have stopped talking. Any questions? Give us a question. You, just you. Yeah. You like chatting?
So just a question for Holly and Jugal and stuff. You said you wanted to revisit some stuff that you're going back to, games that we kind of gave up on and we're going back to. And with you, I mean, despite the success of the Teen Pati and and stuff, can you what are the a couple of bets that you're taking on what kind of stuff that you think will work? I mean, you don't have to really be specific, but more in terms of broadly what kind of stuff that you're looking at.
So I think you can take mechanics, things that India is familiar with, and then you can bring new genres into it, to put as vaguely as I can. And I think there's a lot of potential there.
I don't think Tanay is going to fire you if you say something a little more specific.
Tanay comes back on the co-founder.
In that case,
Any more questions before we get to the pub? Well, me and you are coming to the pub for sure. Oscar, you tell me what we're doing.
We need to, unfortunately, call it. So I'm going to say thank you very much.